Hi everyone, Tony here from Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today and take you for a walk with me here on the beach in San Diego. So today's video is a big update on where things stand with the decree as of May 17th, 2025. Now this week the amended version of the decree passed the Senate and is now under final review in the Chamber of Deputies. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer: I'm not an Italian attorney, and this video does not constitute legal advice. What I'm sharing here is the most accurate and up-to-date understanding of the law as of today based on the official legislative texts and legal commentary available. Now, despite moments of real hope and dozens of proposed amendments designed to make this law more inclusive and fair, lawmakers in Italy have chosen ultimately to move forward with one of the most restrictive versions of Italian citizenship law. Now, as of March 29, 2025, the day after the decree was published, most people born abroad to Italian ancestors are no longer considered Italian citizens automatically. And this rule is designed to apply retroactively. That means even if you were born decades ago and would have qualified under the old rules, your eligibility can be stripped unless you fall into one of the specific exceptions written into the law. Now let's walk through those exceptions. You still qualify under the current version of the law if at least one of the following applies. First, you submitted a full application for recognition, including your documents by 11:59 p.m. Rome time on March 27, 2025. Now, second, a new amendment introduced an important clarification. If you had a confirmed appointment in writing from a consulate or comune by March 27, even if the appointment was scheduled for a future date, you are still covered under the old rules. Third, if you filed a citizenship case in court by 11:59 on March 27th, you're also protected by the old rules. What matter here is the official filing date in court, not when the judgment was issued. Now, fourth, one of the following must be true. At the time of your birth, your parent or grandparent held only Italian citizenship, or at the time of their death, your parent or grandparent held only Italian citizenship. If they held another citizenship or dual citizenship at both of these times, you do not qualify under this clause. Fifth, if your parent or adoptive parent was an Italian citizen and lived in Italy legally for at least 2 consecutive years before your birth or adoption, you may also qualify. Now, importantly, the current law restricts eligibility to cases where your qualifying ancestor is either a parent or grandparent. More distant generations like great-grandparents and beyond are no longer recognized under the decree. So even if your great-grandfather was born in Italy and never naturalized, that unfortunately is no longer sufficient unless you meet also one of the exceptions. If you don't fall into any of these 5 categories and you're claiming through a great-grandparent or beyond, then as of today, you're likely ineligible under the current law. And this has already affected tens of thousands of people, many of whom had spent months or even years preparing. Now, let's talk about children. Under the old rules, minor children inherited citizenship automatically when their parent was recognized. But under Article 2 of the decree, that's no longer the case. For a minor child to acquire citizenship alongside a parent, they must now either have lived legally in Italy for 2 consecutive years, or, if under age 2, must have lived in Italy continuously since birth. This change means that even if your entire family is applying together, your child may be excluded unless they meet the new residency requirement. There are also significant changes for people going through the courts. Article 3 of the decree says that testimony and sworn statements are no longer admissible as evidence. Only documentary proof is allowed, and the burden of proof is entirely on the applicant. This makes the judicial recognition more rigid and could create some problems for people with gaps in documentation, especially if records have been lost or destroyed. So, where do things stand right now? Well, the amended version of the decree, now Bill AC 2402, passed the Senate on May 15th and is now in the Chamber of Deputies. The Chamber must vote by May 27th or the decree will expire. If the Chamber passes the Senate's version without changes, the final law will be published in the Gazzetta and take effect the next day, likely before the end of May. But If any changes are made, then the bill would return to the Senate. Now let's talk about reacquisition. Article 1, paragraph 6 of the decree allows certain former Italians, people who lost their Italian citizenship under the old laws, to reacquire it by declaration. This will be possible from July 1st, 2025 through December 31st of 2027. Now, for everyone asking, if I'm blocked, is there any hope? Well, here's where things get interesting. So many Italian legal experts believe that there are several possible routes to challenge the legality of these laws, especially the retroactive exclusion of people who were long considered citizens and its treatment of minors. Now, some attorneys believe that the law violates principles like legal certainty, non-discrimination, and family unity under the Italian Constitution. At least one Italian court has already referred citizenship-related constitutional questions to the Constitutional Court, and more legal challenges are expected. The most significant development right now is a Constitutional Court hearing scheduled for June 24th, 2025, and that hearing comes from a separate case filed before Decree 36 was issued, so it doesn't directly challenge this law. However, it does raise related questions about whether Italy's restrictions on citizenship by descent, especially across generations, violate the Constitution's guarantees of equality and non-discrimination. If the court finds that generational restrictions are unconstitutional, that ruling could set a precedent for future challenges and might ultimately help strike down parts of Decree 36. Now, it will likely take several months for the Constitutional Court to issue a decision, but if it sides with the plaintiffs, it could pave the way to restore eligibility for at least some of the people currently excluded. Now, meanwhile, Italy's legislature is working on a longer-term citizenship reform, Senate Bill DDL 1450. Now, this bill is still in committee, but it's expected to create a more permanent, structured system for recognizing citizenship by descent, and potentially with new procedures and new exceptions. Movement on DDL 1450 is expected in the second half of 2025. So what can you do right now? Well, first, continue gathering and preparing your documents. If legal challenges succeed or DDL 1450 opens new paths, you'll want to be ready. And second, don't cancel any confirmed consular appointments you booked before March 28th, especially if you have written confirmation. Those may still be honored under the old rules. Now, third, if you've already been recognized but haven't registered your minor children, make sure your marriage is registered and collect their translated apostilled birth certificates. There may still be a grace period for these registrations. Finally, if you're in a judicial case or considering one, speak to your attorney about your options under the new rules. The bottom line is this: if you submitted your application or filed your court case before March 28th, then you are likely still protected by the previous law. But if you didn't, and you're claiming through a great-grandparent or your Italian ancestor had already naturalized and was no longer Italian at the relevant time, then you're likely excluded under the current law unless you meet one of the exceptions in Article 1, Paragraph 2. That said, between the upcoming Constitutional Court decision, new legal challenges, and the development of DDL 1450, the situation is still unfolding and there may yet be paths forward, and I'll be here to walk you through every step as things develop. Now, if you'd like personalized help with your case, I offer affordable 20, 30, and 60-minute consultations, which are available on my website at italiandual.com. And I'll see you in the next video.